Yes.
Start the game already!
Okay, so the game is starting any minute now. So I suppose not everyone might know Addstrike. He's currently approximately 1700 rated player. MetalRTS is a bit more known, I suppose. 1.9k. Quite a difference in rating, but you never know what might happen, what kind of strategies they prepare, what civs they might roll. So, nonetheless, I think it's really worth to just take a look at the game.
Yes.
This is just for myself to actually learn something about Arena.
Yes.
Okay, so game 1 starting any second now, unless there's a pause going in. Might be. Anyway, game 1 is going to be random civilizations, and game 2 players will be swapping from civilizations, which is really nice because you get a random element where there's a small thing of imbalance where one civ might be better, especially in Arena, than the other. But as you swap next game, that can really go two ways. And interesting civilizations to start with, as we see RTS rolling the Huns, and Addstrike going with Japanese. Well, going with getting Japanese. And let me just chat over real quick to prevent anything like that happening. Anyway, so I suppose I'll get started on the maps once again. Looking at Spaden's map first thing that comes to mind is this gold mine just hugging his wall. And yeah, that's going to be a little bit awkward, I suppose, but considering the civilizations, a quick castle drop doesn't really seem to be the most favorable option, so I guess that neglects it a little bit. Next to that, he has a second gold in the back, his third gold in the back as well. This time no extra golds for anyone in the back, it seems. And they're kind of available. No book resources. I don't see his stone on the right side here. And I think that's about it. I'll get to the relics in the end once I had Addstrike in here. Addstrike has kind of a forward main gold. I suppose these main golds aren't that in risk of a castle drop in this game due to the civilizations. But as soon as one player starts pushing, they might be able to easily deny some gold income from the other player. Looking at Addstrike's other gold, there's another one outside of the walls, and I really have trouble finding gold sometimes, not just in my own games. Am I really missing? I suppose, yeah, this is the other one. Okay, so two on the right side outside of his walls and one on the right side in his walls seems to be quite an important flank for him. And the additional golds, one on the right edge, one on the left map. It's like, it's as if it was placed to balance the map out a little bit, which is kind of funny to see. Spoken about that, when I look at the relics, you see too close to Addstrike. One in the left, one in the right. Too close to Metal, one on the right, one on the left. And one just literally sitting inside the walls. Yeah, free for Metal to pick up, I suppose. But I doubt that we... Well, considering Monk Rushes, I suppose it could work with Japanese. So maybe we can see Addstrike going for Japanese, but... It's going to be kind of rough to really determine one certain strategy for whatever players do. In the meanwhile, we get an interesting discussion considering the names. And no, my name doesn't really has any added value or any meaning. So, sorry, I cannot really join the conversation in any interesting or adding manner. And Metal easily able to push some additional deer in. Seems like Addstrike should be able to do the same thing here. But it shouldn't make too much of a difference. Who doesn't love it when his deer goes for a jog when you're trying to push it? Anyway, Huns versus Japanese. I'm kind of trying to start up my brain and think what kind of direction can we see the upcoming two games heading in such a matchup. As I mentioned, I guess Monk Rush with Japanese is kind of a legit option. Monks and Siege. And next to that for Huns, I'm not really too well known with Huns on Arena. I'm trying to figure out what might be a logical option. Sorry, once again, I'm not an Arena expert. I'm trying to learn as much as possible to be prepared for any future games I have to cast. If anyone has any nice suggestions for the Huns, which isn't the Tarkan Rush, then please let me know. And, oh wow. I actually got trolled by that for a second. For a second I was like, wait, is it saying that someone clicked up to the Fudo Age already? Because going up at 21 pop will be really something special to see in an arena game, as most of you probably know. And okay, it goes Massier in arena usually. Okay, sign me up for Tarkans. I can't wait to see them happening. Every time I'm calling out Tarkans, I get them thrown into my face. Every time I deny that will happen, there's always one Tarkan coming into an arena game with Huns, that's for sure. I'm probably going to be wrong this time, but oh well, who cares. Anyway, quite some early farms coming out for Addstrike, by the way. Seems a bit unnecessary, maybe considering he can push in the deer as well. And wait a second, MetalRTS is actually going up at 23 villages right now, which seems very interesting to me, as I don't think as Huns you're going to be able to go up to the castle smoothly with a 23 vil count. And secretly I'm hoping for a tower hop, because you can hop through it with a tower when there's a gate in the corner. And this crush, yeah, it's probably going to be a scout rush, must be, to counter the monks of the Japanese. But yeah, he's now adding 4 gold. So I'm really curious what Metal is actually up to. It seems like he might even be... On the other hand, if he's going for the tower hop, I think we'll be seeing villages going forward and actually putting down the tower as soon as he hit Fudo Age to make it more of a surprise. But now Addstrike going up at 25, which is a bit more usual. Still a pretty fast attempt in my opinion, especially without any additional resources. And yeah, I can see the Monk Rush happening, but I don't know, I feel like he needed to go up with 1 additional vil, maybe 2 to actually get smooth through. Oh, he's actually selling the stone, obviously. Should have thought of that one. Selling the stone, buying the food, just mind the additional gold, obviously to do 2 clicks. That actually got him up in time, and that must be the Monk Rush coming out for Metal. Then when we are looking for Addstrike, we are seeing 200 gold, 25 up, so I think... I see 90. So, this is actually Master of Arena, so I'm kind of replacing you here. I think you are the one who should be sitting next to me or doing the casting, just to make sure people actually get to learn something about Arena. Anyway, so Addstrike up 50 seconds later approximately, so that's enough time for Metal to maybe get the map, at least the relics in. So, and from there on he will probably move over to a siege push. It's kind of an interesting strategy, as he really wants to be faster than the Japanese, I suppose, and just selling the stone means he doesn't really want to see this game continuing to be a longer game where boom is going to be important. Wow. I think Addstrike has the first hit. Yes. Wow. I love it how he said you sure. Oh wow. Okay. So that's actually the villas coming forward. Probably the monastery and the siege workshop coming out rather soon. There we have the siege workshop. I mean, if you're... sorry, I was in the middle of a story, I believe, and I simply cut it off. Sorry about that. But what I was saying is, if you're going to sell your stone, you're obviously not going to get any additional TCs anytime soon, so you're really not into a boom game and going for the long run, so it's going to be really important for Metal to make this push work. And it's going to be very important for Addstrike to actually fend this off, getting his own monastery up, no own siege workshop yet, second being added for Metal. So that's actually going to be... Wait, what? So that's actually going to be kind of risky for Addstrike, as he might be able to push in real quick. And from here on, even more on gold. Yeah, we're not going to see anything else than monks over here. Just going to wait with attacking the wall to make sure he has enough ready, I suppose. Oh well. I guess it's fair enough to start, since he was up to cast range quite a bit earlier, and still no siege workshop coming up for Addstrike. And I'm kind of curious, does he even have the wood? No, he's actually sitting rather low on wood right now, so I think Metal's push is going to be very effective, because there's no mangonel from Addstrike coming out anytime soon to deal with it. He cannot really research redemption in time and still produce enough monks to be relevant to the game. But he better get up with something quick, and there's a siege workshop coming up, so I guess he wants to go for the mangonel ASAP now. He probably has the wood eco to build one once he gets up, but even if he gets the mangonel out, it's going to be really hard to trade 1 for 3. So, yeah, that's going to be... Yeah, I mean, Metal is in now with 4 mangonels, and the first mangonel for Addstrike is just being produced. So, or we're going to see some insane micro here to turn the game, or Addstrike has to deal with a lot of heat this game. Now, you know what I would love to see? Just get these 4 villages in and empty the berry bush and just proceed through the gap. But on the other hand, if you have 5 mangonels, who needs any tricks to get through a wall? And now I'm just waiting for that micro moment. He is able to pick up... He wasn't even able to pick up one. That's really painful. So that's trading 1 for half. Siege workshop down. There's a barracks coming up. So I think his last attempt will be like barracks and then stable into scouts to maybe deal with both the monks and the mangonels. But at that point, I think Metal will have too many monks out already, and half of your scouts is going to be converted, and it's going to be such an awkward uphill fight. And just look at the damage already done. I mean, I mentioned that Metal will be unable to boom because he sold the stone, but yeah, I don't think Addstrike really has the space to boom here either. I mean, he has a second town center, but next wood needs to be invested in a stable, another siege workshop, and then indeed is a stable, but he doesn't really have the food economy. Kind of forced him to stop producing villages to have the food for scouts, but then if you're not producing villages, you're just going to be behind on eco even more, even though Metal is still in 1 town center. But yeah, Addstrike will be on 1 town center as well right now. So a really nicely done push by Metal here, just selling the stone, getting one of the fastest monk pushes available in this game. And from here on, like, the scout can come out, but with 3 monks, you're going to lose the scout, guaranteed. Yeah, unless you run away, but then the scout really isn't going to be effective in any manner. So, yeah, 1 scout converted without picking a monk, the other scout is going to pick up 1 monk, but then you have the scouts, and there you have the GG, and there was nothing to do for Addstrike. He needed to get the siege workshop earlier to fend off the enemy mangonels, or needed to use the same strategy, selling the stone to be up in time as well. But now the perfect speed of Metal just gave the game to him for almost free, to say so. There was little resistance Addstrike could give this game. So up to the next game, and let's not forget to update the score. Next game, as you can see right now, will be Switch Civilization. So we see Addstrike playing as Huns and Metal playing as the Japanese. So my first part is with Japanese. I'm still expecting Among Us coming out, and as we saw Metal being quite successful with a previous game, maybe it's just going to do it again, this time with the Japanese. Should be able to work out fine. And then the question obviously is, if that is, he goes for Among Us, will Addstrike be able to be in time this time, or will it be the same struggle again? I guess that's just one thing to do, and let's find out next game. And I'm just going to enjoy a small sip of water, so be right back. Okay, game 2. And everything went okay with the civs, Japanese for RTS, Huns for Addstrike. I actually think last game I slightly favoured the Japanese in my mind, but RTS with his speed just completely steamrolled the game there. Let's get started on the maps once again. We have main goal being slightly forward for Addstrike, second goal being outside of the walls, third goal, it isn't bugged, there's enough spaces available if I believe so. And there's actually the 2 extra goals in the back, but as we saw last games, well, the rounds before this one with, I forgot the names, excuse me. Anyway, if we're going to see a monk push again, the goals in the back aren't going to be that relevant, I assume. So let's get to Metal's map now. Has a really forward main goal this time. Kind of an awkward position, so maybe Addstrike is able to, if he's quick enough, he might be able to apply some pressure there. Second goal is outside the front walls for Metal as well. And the third goal outside as well, so kind of open for aggression. In the back, oh, this is actually closed off. There's a stone unavailable, and I'm thinking about the game rules right now. There's 1 stone available. I'm not sure if this actually acts as a bug map because 1 stone is unavailable. Anyway, the host is here, so I'll hear from him if anything is wrong. So next up, let's get to the relics, which are really nicely distributed across the map. Slightly in favor of RTS as he's more pushed towards the center of the map. So yeah, I guess he has access to 3 relics, Addstrike to 2, assuming the map will be split in half, but obviously with any merges going on, it can be really unpredictable who's going to be sitting where on the map. And yeah, I'm just really curious what we're going to see from Addstrike. I'm just kind of assuming right now that Metal will be going for another Monk Rush. It might be kind of a rough assumption that it's going to happen, but I just think it's the most likely thing for him to do this game. And it really worked out well for him last game, so I don't think you have to consider changing your strategy in this scenario. Anyway, from here on, I suppose the relics, as I mentioned, are a bit in favor of Metal, but on the other hand, long run games, not very bound to happen with Monk Rushes. I feel like you either succeed or you fail. Maybe there's this scenario where both players are going to invest in a mush, and one player is pushing maybe slightly but not doing any damage, that it can escalate into a long run game. But I highly doubt it. That's everything I can say about it for now. And even then, if we head into the really long stage of the game, you can always discuss whether the relics are worth more or the gold piles that Addstrike has in his base. And in these civilizations, I don't think that the stone is going to be too relevant. No Tarkins last game. I doubt we're going to see anything like that this game. And again, Addstrike with kind of an early farm for the arena build. I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to be slowing up his uptime a little bit as we saw last game, and that's where this difference might be coming in, and that's what kind of enables such a push. So that's really these things that might not seem too big, but when you're pushing in and there are still 4 sheep left over, I think it's just too expensive to get on the farms. Sorry to inform you, but you missed Viper vs. Doubt. I think you can find it on the Verbally official stream, YouTube channel. So guys, be nice, don't spoil them. Great games, by the way. Really recommend you watching it. Anyway, here we see Metal moving to gold again on 21 villages, which is again really early, clicking up. 22 villages up for Metal. It seems like he will be going for the mush again, just like last game. It's the same thing, kind of repeating, and now I'm really curious whether we see any abnormalities in Addstrike's build. Because, honestly, it will be sad if the exact same thing happens this game. And what did I miss? There's a dead gum, but the lag spikes. Okay, luckily not having any problems with that. Anyway, it seems like Addstrike now 23 vills. We'll probably be adding more vills. If you just compare the players, you see that the food eco is just so different. 240 wood invested in farms for Addstrike, and that's just going to slow him down. And yeah, I think honestly, if you look at this right now compared to the last game, well, Addstrike is actually going up with 24 fills. Last game, I'm not sure whether it was 25 or 24, but 2 fills behind. It might just be enough to be too slow. To actually be in time to prevent any mushes from getting in. And if he's outnumbered with the mangonels again, or a mangonel trade goes wrong, then it can be rather rough for him to restore. But maybe he's going to plan on going scouts instead if he apologies. If he's I don't know what I'm having today, but if he's expecting a mush, then he might consider going scouts to counter it. But then I am having the same question, where the scouts might get converted too much, and it's just going to work against you. It's a bit of a two-way scenario. It can work out really well, it can just end up being really shitty for him. But yeah, it seems like there's not a lot changing in his build order. If he really plans on going scouts, it might just slow down his castle age too much. Obviously you can start producing scouts once you go up to the castle age, but you will need a bit of a different eco to actually get up without the gold mining and selling it to the market. And you obviously need the wood for the stable as well. So it might be too slow again, and now we see this huge difference in castle age. He was not only up earlier to feudal, but Addstrike is simply struggling a little bit to make it up to the castle age in time as well. And there we have the vills moving forward, and I think we're just going to see a double siege workshop and a monastery there. And the palisades, I think he actually deleted the stragglers here, but I'm not entirely sure. And I'm kind of curious what he's actually keeping count of with this palisade walls here. Like, usually you see it being used for wolves or being kind of a mean guy and deleting stragglers, but I might be missing something. Okay, yeah, Addstrike isn't happy to see the castle time of his opponent again. Simply the same strategy, and actually, this time the Siege Workshop isn't as early, which surprises me a little bit, because he has to get through that wall eventually if he wants to deal some real damage. On the other hand, he has the boot now, so we probably can expect it to go down. Yeah, there we go. Addstrike isn't really feeling like like repeating last game again. But just reassuring him that it's nothing creative here. I completely trust him. I think this is going to be ending up with a 6-hour game of people playing SimCity until someone crashes. He's using the palisade for villager pathing. Okay. Fair enough. Well, the scout is in, so maybe he's just going to heal up the scout over and over again and harass like that. But it seems like this time he's actually getting the rams out, and we're looking at Addstrike. I'm kind of hoping Addstrike would add a siege workshop earlier this time to kind of... Yeah, there we have it. He's getting the siege workshop, but again, the ram is hitting the wall already. Not sure if I like the ram more than a manga now in this scenario. But I guess either will do to actually get in. And multiple on gold again for Addstrike. Might just be for mangonel production or getting his own monks out, but we can just see the difference in speed. 4 monks and a ram, and probably more coming out of mangonel as well indeed. Actually picking off a damaged villager over there. And just there we go, healing up the scout again. MVP of this match, I'm calling it. And Addstrike quickly moving to a different gold source, I assume. As you guys can probably notice that the one in the front won't be safe for very long. Trying to start a game a little bit with palisades, but Siege doesn't really struggle with palisades, which might be a bit problematic. I think investing stone might be a good idea, but it could be that he actually sold the stone this game to go up. No, he did not. I think in this scenario it might be rather greedy to save the stone for any town centers, as this stone wall is going to be way more important in my opinion, but Metal just going straight on for the town center here, and Mangana getting out microed again is just really putting a nail in the coffin of Addstrike. Trying to work with the Vils, but the monk will have no mercy, and to be honest, we're kind of in the same state as last game, where Metal has so much tempo that the only way I can see Metal losing tempo is like not microing the mangonel correctly and just losing too many mangonels. Like now he's trading 1 for 1. It's okay, it stops the attack a little bit, but he needs more than that to actually get back into the game. Because he is not even ahead on the villages right now. He wasn't able to drop a second town center. And from here on, I think the push is kind of self-explanatory. Redemption being researched by Metal right now, so yeah, I don't think that's right. Oh wow. Metal actually packing quite a punch with the monks, but luckily he is able to survive with flipping of the mangonel. I was kind of thinking he considered trolling there or something, but Addstrike actually buying quite a bit of time here, but it feels like the tone has been set for this game. And I'm not sure if Addstrike is... Yeah, he's getting additional mangonels out, so... You know, maybe another shot, but they are kind of fully healed up again. This is going to be really rough, and... Yeah, no TCs being added, but obviously as he saw the stone again, probably just investing in any offensive measures, and there we have it. Redemption, just... Yeah, making Siege even a bad option for Addstrike right now, and now he's simply completely running out of options, that's it. I mean, last game we saw this small attempt to scout. We know how that ended. He's just overwhelmed by the number of bombs. And I don't like saying that it's game before players called it themselves, but I'm going ahead and do it this time. I'm wondering whether Addstrike actually has a plan up, or maybe his goal is just to get past 25 minutes. mean, not to be offensive, but that was like the game of the goal of the last player a game ago. So I guess it's something worth fighting for if you're up against a higher skilled opponent. Kind of a Batman at Town Center coming up for RTS here. On the other hand, the land is basically his at this point, so I won't judge. And who needs extra town centers when you can freely get villages in your enemy's base anyway? Okay, so another Magna coming out. Like, best case scenario, it's going to kill 4 monks and then gets converted or something. Worst case scenario, this happens. And there we have it, the game being called by Addstrike, and that's going to make it 2-2-0. Don't leave yet, however, it's not a best of 3. It's actually 3 rounds being played.
No.
Yeah, I'm just going to... Yeah, okay, there's one more. So let me just update the score. Last game, as you can see right now, is going to be team random.
Yes.
So who knows, maybe we'll get a Sith that isn't able to Monk Rush, and this time is going to be completely different. In the meanwhile, let me just check when there will be more Master of Arena games. Tomorrow there will be Squeak versus Ryan at 17 GMT, a little bit later by the way. We have Timotheus versus the Max at 19 GMT. But obviously you can also check the calendar on AOC Zone to see any future matches which will be cast.
Channel edited.
Okay, seems like nobody will be a little bit late joining. And wow, the random civs actually ends up really interesting, as it's going to be Byzantines. Well, obviously Mirror, as we are rolling Mirror, but that is really kind of a classic arena match, so to say. So I'm kind of curious how players are going to do with this. Maybe Addstrike is a bit more comfortable with Byzantines on this on arena. So maybe we're going to see a change, but on the other hand, it again is quite a good civilization for monks, so maybe we're going to see game 1 and 2 just repeat it with a different civilization. Who knows, maybe Addstrike has something, come up with a crazy idea to maybe, I'm actually not sure how you pronounce it. It's like Byzantines? Byzantines? It's really, I don't know, I haven't followed any linguistic courses, so please excuse me if it's wrong. Anyhow, I'll get to the map. So Metal playing in blue. main goal pretty forward, second, but really pretty far away from the walls at the same time, so nothing to be too concerned about. Second goal in here as well, next to the wall. Third goal in the back, and 2 extra goals in the back, which might be interesting if this game lasts for a long time, but I'm not going to assume that based on the last 2 games. Addstrike's map. Horrendously awkward main gold, especially if we are expecting aggro again.
User joined your
Pretty
channel.
poor second gold, and hey, nobody. Welcome.
How are you?
Okay, let me just tune you up on TeamSpeak a little bit real quick.
Alrighty then. How's everybody doing?
Okay, you should be clear right now.
And I'm just jumping into the game. How have the first few arena games been?
Well, the first 2 were Hunts versus Japanese, and Metal kind of had a steamroll with Conquerors both games.
A little bit expected. He's the more experienced player.
Yeah, fair enough. He was really doing an as fast as possible monk rush. It's really hard for Addstrike to respond on such a thing, especially if you're not too confident on something like Arena or haven't had too much practice.
Well, Monk Rush is just like, it's like the bread and butter for arena players and not really used so much for other kinds of players. So if you're going to play arena a lot, like MetalRTS does, and you're going to go against him, you better know how to defend a Monk Rush.
Yeah, indeed. I think it's one of the basics to really join Master of Arena, in my opinion. Yeah, as you said, it's the bread and butter of Arena. It's something you will see an awful lot, even with the random civilizations, where not every civilization has a really good opportunity to go monks. A lot of civilizations still has the option to actually do it.
Well, a lot of the stronger arena civs, and essentially, especially Byzantines. Most of the time you do get to see a Monk Rush here. I'm looking at the maps. I don't know if you've gone over maps, but it looks like Addstrike has a very forward gold, and he's got an exposed side gold is up well with no golds in the back. That's going to be hard for him to defend. He's definitely going to want to play aggressive here.
Yeah, indeed. I've been going over the map a little bit. I only haven't pointed out the relics yet, which are 2 in Metal's walls, by the way, which is kind of, well, hard to contest, I suppose. And Addstrike has 1 his own walls and 2 relic close, so he might be able to pick up 3 for himself, but I really think that Metal is feeling quite confident after the last 2 games, and is just going for a really aggressive monk push again. And as you mentioned, that can be really painful on Addstrike's map.
If I were to bet, if I was a betting man here, I would bet all my money on seeing Metal go for a Monk Rush here. He's got 2 relics. Addstrike's got a pretty poor base, and he knows it's worked before, and he's got the Civ as well. So 9 times out of 10, I think we're going to see a Monk Rush here.
Yeah, I mean, the only other option is something like a Drush, because he's simply too confident after the last 2 games. But I think he'll be continuing playing seriously. So.
I've seen that very often on Arena.
Ah, that's why. Well, you never know who's deleting their walls for deer, but...
Maybe we could see a Trush through the corners here.
Yeah, I actually hope to see that in Game 2, as... Oh no, wait, maybe that was with Game 1. It was Huns, Metal, and that was this exposed corner with the gates, indeed. He was clicking up really early, and I didn't really think about the selling stone, so I really hope to see a tower hop coming through, but... Now, I see Metal moving to gold again, so he's just going to apply the same strategy for the 3rd time, which is just selling the stone, get up to castle ASAP, and get the monasteries and the siege workshop up and rolling.
Yeah, most likely. The funny thing is that Trush could actually work on this map with the gold so exposed, but it's just such a risky strategy. Even the stones for Addstrike are forward.
Ah, yes. Yeah, it's like...
one of the worst arena maps I've seen, actually.
Yeah, I am actually, now I think about it, there's 1 restart for the whole 3 set of matches, I believe. It hasn't been used yet by either player, but we've been far past 4 minutes, so it doesn't really matter that much anymore. That might have been a good call in this scenario, but maybe that's something to think of if you're a future Master of Arena player. A lot of time in the first rounds you see Reese being unused, which in this scenario might make quite a difference.
So it looks like Metal's going a little bit earlier. He doesn't have Loom, and they're about equal on Vills, so it looks like Metal might have... Well, it looks like Addstrike might have be a little slower because he got Loom here, but Metal's in a little bit of a better position.
Metal actually went up at 23 villages in the previous two games, so he will be a little bit slower, but I don't think his strategy is going to change a bit anyway. And yeah, as we spoke about at Thrush earlier, like it's indeed great on this map, but you have such a solid monk push. It's not really worth the risk it brings with it. Like if it fails. Yeah, and obviously he doesn't have the information about golds in the back of Addstrike.
You definitely want to put the farm on the bottom right, TC. I'm just kidding. There's nothing else to comment on.
Oh, please, spare me. After casting a few arena games after a row, it's going to be really hard to fill these first few minutes. Most exciting thing you can catch is scout fights like these, but it seems like Addstrike is actually doing pretty good on the scout fights in these games so far.
Lose the scout here? You must have known he'd lose that scout.
Yeah, I actually lost one in the previous game as well, and the game before that he converted Addstrike Scout, so that was one of his lesser games, I suppose, considering Scout Warfare. Yeah, I guess having the Scout is a slight advantage here. Maybe you can pick off a Monk, but you have to be careful not to give it away as well.
Well, I'm looking at Metal Scouting. He hasn't seen all the relics. He's only found the 2 in his base, so it might be a little bit of a disadvantage. Actually, he sees the 3rd in Addstrike's base.
Oh yes, okay. Yeah, you can see the difference in castle time again, and that's really going to break or make the game.
Possibly. The first few monk kills can be very essential, though. If you have a scout, it's a very good advantage, and that could give Addstrike a little bit of advantage here. Maybe you can pick off a free monk. Really, with monk fights, they tend to what is called snowball. They snowball really easy.
Yeah.
So getting an early monk pick is really going to help out Addstrike if you can get it.
Yeah, it can be a really deciding factor in such a game. But another thing which we've been seeing last two games is the kind of mangonel warfare, or maybe mangonel dodgeball is a better word. And Addstrike hasn't been succeeding too much with that, often having one-for-one trades, and you know that's delaying the push, but it's not really turn the tides for you.
And I would be really hesitant going against a Byzantine player to make a ton of mangonels, since they of course get redundant.
Yeah, that's indeed something we saw in Game 2 when Metal actually was Japanese and had access to redemption. Yes, that was painful to watch at one point.
Do you know why Metal is selling so much stone here? He's not playing as Saracens and the sell price is 88.
Not entirely. He's actually adding the TC right now.
Yeah, it just seems a little unorthodox to me. Maybe it's because I don't have as much arena knowledge, but usually I only see the strategy with Saracens.
Well, he's been using the market pretty efficiently last games just to sell the stone and get up 24 pop, get a siege out as soon as possible, but now he seems to be going for a second town center instead of adding a siege workshop forward, which indicates to me that Metal might be planning for a bit more of a long run game instead of a monk rush this time. Third town center being added as well.
All about the mind games on Arena. I think Metal's decided, I don't know, maybe that he's monk rushed too many times in the series. He's going to pick a different strategy, and hopefully Addstrike's going to choose the wrong strategy.
And I think that's actually what we're seeing right now. We see Addstrike going for Expos. Okay, maybe I can deal with his monks this way. But I'm not sure if I would even agree with Expos on that point. I mean, they're great against the monks, but kind of a risky thing against mangonels and rams.
Perhaps Addstrike doesn't believe in his monk micro. I'm not sure exactly what level Addstrike is at. The only
Addstrike is...
I know Addstrike is because I remember he's the guy that shipped me my War is Coming t-shirt, so I'm kind of rooting for him a little bit.
I think he's around 106, 107k, so... Yeah, I can understand if you're not too confident in your monk micro, especially up against someone who is kind of a practice arena player. I like how Addstrike is really getting the scouting information in. It feels a bit risky to have the Expos roaming around alone, as they might get converted instead of picking off some monks. But yeah, I guess he wants to get as much information as possible on the relics, but all relics have been retrieved now, except one in Addstrike's base. Seems like Addstrike will be having 3 relics and Metal will be having 2.
Yeah, so at this point in the game, it looks like Metal's gonna have a stronger economy here. He's on 3 town centers, and he's going to have stone pretty soon for a castle. I think taking all the stone has delayed his economy a little bit, but this is kind of the strategy he's going for. Addstrike, on the other hand, he's behind in economy, but since he has so much military, at least he has his gold safe. And we'll see how it works out, if he's going to continue to go to Archer line, or what MetalRTS is going to do to combat these archers. Maybe just some really good monk micro.
Well, with 3 monks versus 3 archers, I think it's kind of a gamble. I would favor the monks in this scenario, but it kind of depends on the converts, and that's 2, and that's the 3rd one, and that's going to be really awkward for Metal because that military lead is kind of non-existent now.
Yeah, the thing is, I think, let's see, these crossbows don't even have bike narrow. I think Addstrike tried to get a little too close before firing.
Yeah, indeed. And we see a 3rd town center coming up for Addstrike, but he's going to be quite a bit behind eco-wise. The village account difference isn't insane. I'm not sure what the status is on wheelbarrow for both players and handcart, but now the offensive castle coming.
Now, I think Addstrike does not have it.
Okay, wheelbarrow is now coming in for
RTS.
yeah, and the castle for RTS. Well, it just got cancelled. He planned on placing it in the main goal from Addstrike, but it seems like he changed his mind.
Yeah, perhaps he's just going to go with the safer option. Either option should work for Metal because he does have a lead in economy as well.
Yeah, it feels like he's pretty solid in the long run. Actually, he lost 1 veil to a wolf there, but I don't think that's going to be that game changing. Sorry, did I miss something?
No, just go off.
Okay. Are you a little bit behind on me, or...?
I'm at 23 minutes right now.
Okay, so am I. Okay, so in the long run, Metal actually has these 2 additional golds in the back. And nice converts by Addstrike there, by the way. Getting the monks of Metal down. But okay, Addstrike having 1 additional relic, but I think I would favor the 6 extra gold pals at the back of Metal's base at this moment. And Metal also going up to the M.
So here's that castle now from MetalRTS. He did lose a few of these crossbows, but here's the Mangano to help counter the archers. I think this castle's going to go up. It's hard to tell. Here comes the monks coming in at the back.
He might try and be able to get the converts. I don't think that Metal already has the tag to convert any monks back, so with correct micro, Addstrike might be able to prevent this, but for now it seems a little bit awkward how the monks are just dancing around.
The old men are walking for their lives. Oh!
Dance, you old man! Okay, so that castle isn't going to be prevented anytime soon, and with Addstrike being later to the Imperial Age, it's going to be really hard for him to actually get a castle down. I don't really see any good opportunities for Addstrike here.
But he's blown a little bit of his micro. Where are the villagers going?
Abandoning the gold, moving to the side gold, I suppose, but I don't think that's going to be a lot safer. And losing another monk before even able to convert a mangonel. Yeah, that's hurting. And now he's basically sitting at an X-bow, 2 X-bows, a lot of idle bills, 1 monk who seems to be rather suicidal.
All of Addstrike's monks seem to be suicidal. Like, it's kind of a problem.
Yeah, sorry if nobody's a bit low on the volume, but I cannot really adjust it a whole lot more. I'm not sure if you could maybe get your mic a bit close or anything like it.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, that would be awesome. So University going up for Addstrike, probably trying to find his way to Imperial Age as well. However, he doesn't really have the resources. Maybe it was for ballistics or anything like it. But
What does Addstrike have to do to get back in this game? I'm not exactly sure. He's going to need a monster economy. He's going to have to take down this castle somehow. Maybe going into cavalry? I'm not exactly sure.
I think there's like 3 options for him right now. Either he simply needs superior monk micro at this point. He should be able to get some archers maybe converted and some monks and snowball back from there. I think scouts, you could consider it against the siege and monks, but at one point the scouts just aren't going to be effective, as he might add in cataphracts or maybe more monks even. Yeah, as long as he can outnumber it, he can be pretty fine.
The thing is, you don't want to tempt a Byzantine's player to go into halves. It's going to go towards their strengths.
Yeah. But for now on, like, the other option I wanted to mention was maybe mangonels and simply have superior mangonel micro. But against Onagers, that's already getting rather rough.
I don't know, it's looking pretty bad. Addstrike only now getting bow sods, going to hurt his economy. And it's looking pretty bad. I think he needs a castle now, but he's only at 100 stone.
I'm kind of curious what Metal is planning to do with... Oh wow, I feel a lot of BM coming in. Whatever tactics. Okay, so... I'm just not going into detail while he's placing this wall, because it's obviously obvious. Lightcap being researched for Addstrike, but it's just not going to be effective. Like, he might be able to pick up some onagers, but with his eco being this much weaker, it's just going to be a matter of time for Metal to actually change his unit composition and just punish him for only being able to afford Lightcap.
Yeah, the question is not only can he win the battle against these onagers, he needs to win the war. And,
yeah, that's kind of true.
A very strong option going into later in the game. Metal's even trying to wall, looks like trying to wall Addstrike in now.
Make sure Addstrike cannot flee and drag out the game. Addstrike is actually adding quite a bit of Lightcap at the back here. But I don't see that swinging back the game in his favor. Even though he only has to deal with siege right now, his eco is so damaged. Even if he wipes out Metal's entire army at this point, that's a whole different story than winning the game.
I think we're going to see one last push from Addstrike. Here comes the Lightcap. Let's see if they can be heroes.
Well, it might delay his defeat, but it isn't going to ensure victory. Yeah, there goes Onager number 1. And now I'm kind of curious what Metal's first response is.
Well, it should be halves.
I think, like, as long as he masters enough from anything that isn't monks or siege, he should be fine.
I'm just laughing at the chat here. So it looks like Addstrike's won the battle. Now how does this play out from here? Where's the rest of Metal's army? I feel all he has is onagers and trebuchets. He needs to switch into something now.
Yeah, I think, like, honestly, just produce some cataphracts with the castle or something. You know, anything is going to work against the hussars. I mean, cataphracts aren't great against hussars, but with such an eco advantage at this point, the only thing you need to not do is just go mass siege again.
I don't know, I feel like Metal should take this threat more seriously. Addstrike, his economy is still okay. It's about 80 bills. MetalRTS is just a little bit further. Metal's getting all the better economy upgrades. But Addstrike's still a threat. I think Metal should take this more seriously and go into another unit. It looks like he's building a second castle. I don't see any barracks, though. And if
he's getting conscription right now.
He's pretty weak, too.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like, I feel like both players are acting as if the game is already over, but the difference isn't as big as you might think in the first place.
This game would be over if Metal added some health a little earlier on. You have to have expected this. For Addstrike to take out this castle, reclaim some of his resources with a bit of siege here.
There's a third castle coming up for Metal, by the way. And he only has a lot of gold, and that's about it. So it's actually kind of an awkward spot for Metal here. Maybe if Addstrike can actually get some siege in. Yeah, he's actually getting some catapult now, but as I mentioned, is not going to be too effective against the Leica. At first I was under the assumption that he will massively outnumber him, but now he's kind of getting outnumbered.
So it looks like Metal, he's going to go up to 4 castles here. He's going to go into Cataphract. Gold's going to be fine for him. He's got tons of gold. I think food is going to be a big problem for him, though. And he's definitely not going to be able to afford these expensive upgrades.
Yeah, the only problem is that Addstrike isn't really able to do any damage right now, as he has no siege or way of coming in. And there's no eco of metal outside of these walls. And I think he can stay in these walls for quite some time because of the extra 2 golds in the back.
I think this lack of siege is really what's going to hurt Addstrike. Metal, he's fixing up his economy. He's suddenly seeded 2-3 times the amount of farms he's had, and he's going to be able to afford Cataphracts pretty soon.
Okay, but he's still on 2 town centers, which is going to set him back a little bit more in the long run eco. He's adding his own castle as well, so maybe he will be able to add some trebuchets from here on.
Well, that's the hope. If you're getting your own castle right now, you got to kill these castles of MetalRTS before he gets the masses Cataphracts.
Yeah, but if I look at this, he has approximately 18 Cataphracts right now. I don't know. It's close, but it's going to be pretty hard on Addstrike's. And still, all these castles that Metal has is still quite a decent defense layer. And if we look at the upgrades on the Hussars, there's only 2 defense. I wish I could check the Cataphracts, but they're all sitting in the castle. And there's actually the Cap Ram coming out. The one will be a bit slow, but as he has double siege workshop, he should be able to push a bit quicker from here on. And now Metal kind of has to respond.
Yeah, this is going to be Addstrike's one chance. He needs to take down these castles pretty quickly. As soon as Elite Cataphract comes in, it's a massive difference. You're going to go from 110 health to 150 health.
Yeah, that's going to be an insane difference. Does he actually have... Oh wow, another castle being added, and now it's just going to be Mass Cataphracts for Metal. Seems like Addstrike isn't a big fan of Cataphracts.
It's something that Metal would have been better advised to go into halves here, but sometimes when I like to have fun, I like to just make the unique units even if they're not as common. It's just fun to see them.
Yeah, I agree. Unique units always have something special, especially when they are not seen too often, like Tarkans or whatsoever. I just love seeing them, and actually being put to good use can be very interesting.
Yeah, and if you look at the stats of a Cataphract versus a Hussar, there's really no competition here.
And we finally can check the upgrades. +2 defense for RTS and no offense upgrades, and +4 defense for Addstrike. Will help soaking the arrow fire a little bit, combined with the rams. But Elite Cataphracts is now being researched, and as you mentioned, that's going to be a rather large difference. And I think that is what Metal is waiting for right now, but maybe he's simply forced to fight this right now, or else he's going to pay with a lot of castles. And there's actually a lot of Hussars from Addstrike being unused, just hitting houses. And a bit of an awkward fight for Addstrike, not using his complete force, fighting under 2 castles. I would like to see Addstrike a bit more defensive, waiting for the traps to take him down. And what is this fail rush by Addstrike here? What does he want to get down? Except his own fail count.
Elite Cataphract looks like double the health, more attack, and 2 more armor.
And Logistica being researched.
Yeah, so that's even gonna make it much worse.
Yeah, with the larger numbers, that's going to be very painful.
Well, the one thing I'm happy about this game, we're definitely getting to see Elite Cataphracts, and that's not something you get to see every day.
Well, enjoy, people. But now it's just really hard for Addstrike because the Halbs aren't going to be as effective against Cataphracts either.
There's really going to be no counter here. The key to Cataphracts is they're so expensive and they're so hard to upgrade that you usually never see them. But once they are fully upgraded, they're one of the hardest units to counter in the game.
Yeah, indeed. They do have insane piece armor for a Cav unit, but enough to resist most of the damage taken here.
Perhaps start mashing archers at this point.
Yeah, but even then, like, look at the military count. See how much he needs to produce to get on equal ground. Let's then how much he needs to do to actually get on a winning point. And it seems like he's researching pikemen, adding barracks. The pikes aren't going to be that effective against, well, maybe gold effective, but not really too effective, especially if you have less pikes than cataphracts, and Logistica's research is just a no-go in my opinion. On the other hand, with nothing in front of your archers, it's not like they're going to do anything against cataphracts. It's just too awkward, and Metal just enjoying his BM a little bit this game. Taking down castles with cataphract. It was always a unit that I loved in this game when I was little. I think this even was my favorite civilization after the Britons, maybe.
I love the unit in this game that's not used enough as I think it should be. And Cataphract definitely falls into one of those berserks, key cards, they're all tons of fun. Anyway, here's the GG.
And that's GG indeed, and that means it's going to be 3-0 for Metal. Yeah, I guess it was likely to go this way due to the difference, but the last game, even though Metal didn't really went on full skill level, or how do you say it correctly, I'm not sure, but he didn't really play on serious mode in the end, which actually let Addstrike do a decent strike back, but in the end just not enough to actually make a difference.
Addstrike was close to taking the game, but he had a chance there. Metal gave him a chance, and unfortunately Addstrike couldn't take advantage of it. But Metal, I think getting in the head of Addstrike here, just with his strategy, he changed up his strategy. It looks like crossbows didn't work out too well. Yeah, and that's what a lot of Arena is, I think, just the mind games.
It's really nice indeed how Metal was like, you know, after 2 mushes and then getting a mush shift, let's do something different, let's go for the eco, and yeah, I have to say Addstrike played straight into his cards, and yeah. It was just nicely done by Metal. It's really fun to see those mind games happening in Arena, and it really gives some extra depth to the game, which I really like.
Will you be heading off, or will you be casting another game? I do see an Arena 1v1 2K right now.
I've been casting for quite a bit of time right now, so I think I'll be heading off to spare my voice for now.
Alright, for everybody in the chat, I can take over as long as there isn't anything else scheduled today.
I don't believe there is. I can double check for you. No, there's not, so feel free to take over.
Okay, so we're gonna go offline for a second here, and I'll take over the stream, and we'll be watching Arena 2K. It looks like it's going to be. It keeps moving. It's going to be Jon Snow and Drakeson. Jon Snow's cast is streaming this on his own channel as well.
Okay, guys. Thanks for watching. Stay for more Arena games, and hope you enjoyed. Leave any feedback in the chat, and stay tuned for Nobody Casting More. Nobody Casting More, really. You should have picked a better name for situations like this.
What? Well, people will remember it, huh?
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Anyway, stay tuned.